5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hello and welcome everyone to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences. This is the podcast where we listen to all the craft beer podcasts based locally here in Cincinnati from the previous week, and we get together and we tell our version of how those podcasts went. Hopefully there won't be too many consequences from the hosts of the other shows, and so far so good. My name is Marco. I am a brewer and a bartender here locally, and my co-host is here, the best co-host in Podcastlandia.
I am Julia, and I am a drinker of all the fine beers here in Cincinnati and beyond, and a lover of all of the bottle shops and tap rooms that we have as well.
For sure. Want to go ahead and thank our podcast host for today on location at Higher Gravity Summit Park. Brand new Higher Gravity here at Summit Park.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. And we have a guest, Julia.
We do. We will have two guests, but right now we only have one. Guest, would you like to introduce yourself and let people know a little bit about Higher Gravity Summit Park?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, both the Higher Gravities, really.
Yeah, so my name's Jason. Nick will be on here shortly. He got stuck behind the bar. We actually got a little bit of a happy hour crowd coming in, so we'll let him keep making that money over there.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, as I said, I am Jason. I'm one of the co-founders here at Higher Gravity. Nick is my business partner in all of this, and we started Higher Gravity in Northside a little over 5 years ago. Both of us came from accounting and consulting backgrounds, traveled all over the world, and really fell in love with beer while we were traveling. I've been homebrewing for a good 10, 12 years now. I don't know. I've sort of lost count of that. But within all of that, Nick and I both started looking for things to do outside of the industry that we were in. Wanted to be part of the craft beer industry, but also didn't think we were good enough at brewing or actually, oddly enough, I remember talking to Nick, I guess probably 7-8 years ago, and being like, there's no room for more breweries. This city cannot take another brewery in it. Now, like 35 breweries later, I was completely wrong, but we had started to look around the market and thought, well, there's so much good beer out there, but it's kind of hard to navigate. There's so many different beers, so many different styles that a lot of people just, unless you're completely involved in the industry, or if you're someone who is constantly drinking and staring at the BJCP guidelines, you may not know everything. So we wanted to create a space that made it a little easier to navigate a large selection of beers, but also help educate you in that process. And so Higher Gravity was born out of that, and I'm sure we can spend a little time talking more about what this space is like and what we do in this space, but maybe we'll save that for when Nick gets here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're a bar and bottle shop focused on craft beer and wine in both locations, Northside and Summit Park. We'll have generally between 400 and 500 different beers that you can drink in the store or take home. So both the hybrid bar, but also a retail shop. Mm-hmm. So.
And one of the things that I love about Higher Gravity that you don't see at a lot of the other bottle shops in the area, which are all amazing, so this is not any kind of dig at anyone else, but all of your beer, your packaged beer to go, is already in a cooler. Like, nothing is room temperature here outside of a couple of the cans that you have like in the center row in front of the cooler, but I would say a good 90% of what you get here is already cold. You can grab it out of the cooler and it is ready to go as soon as you get home.
Yeah, and it's a little bit different than Northside. So if any of the listeners have been to our Northside store, a lot of our singles to go are room temperature. They're
right.
Warm. We created kind of a library wall of beer, which aesthetically looks awesome.
It does.
But it's a little hard to handle from our side. The customers seem to really appreciate it because they can get out there on the floor and get their hands on the beer, and it makes it easy to make a mixed six-pack to go and stuff like that. and looks really cool. But for us as bartenders and for us on the operations side, we have to stock beer in 3 different places.
Right.
So in Summit Park, we've changed the model slightly.
Mm-hmm.
So all the beers are cold. All the single beers are all in one place, and they're all accessible to the customer, as opposed to in Northside, where if you want a particular beer, you would go up to the bar and say, hey, let me have a Truth.
Mm-hmm.
In Summit Park, obviously, you could still ask the bartender, and we'll walk around to the retail shop and pull out that Truth for you. But the Truth is out on the floor in a single can, cold, ready for you. So you can just grab it out of the cooler, then bring it up to the bar and say, I want to have this here.
Mm-hmm.
We'll crack it open for you and pour it right there.
Yeah.
Or if you just wanted a single to go, you can do that as well.
Yeah, I will say my only, very minor complaint about the Northside location are the cold singles are kind of behind the bar, where it is a little tricky to see what's all there without being like, hey, can I step slightly behind the bar to take a look at what's back there?
Yeah, and
but-
it's funny because when we set all this up, right, the way that I used to go shop for beer, I would go to Party Source, and I'd go down their single beer selection, and I'd type everything into Untapped.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, okay, have I had it? Did I rate it well? Have I not had it? Is it rated well? If it's not rated well, then you got to start looking at,
Sure.
well, what style is it?
Sure.
Because
sure.
there's all kinds of inherent flaws in the way that beers are rated on Untapped in general, which we could spend a whole podcast talking about.
Oh, God,
that.
yeah. This is an IPA, and I don't like IPAs.
Exactly.
Well,
I don't like sour, but I ordered a sour.
Great idea for a show.
it absolutely. Fantastic. So,
We wouldn't be a good beer podcast if we didn't have beer.
absolutely.
Julia, ladies first, what are you drinking?
Well, actually, I'm going to let Jason introduce the beer because he has provided several beers for us to try throughout the course of this podcast. So, Jason, what did you pick for us to sample first?
Yeah, so this is a new beer so it's called Strip Mall Lawyer, and it's from Mason Ale Works out of California. I have never had it before, but it's a double dry hopped hazy double IPA, which is a mouthful of stuff. And then it's done with Galaxy and Citra hops, which is awesome, and 10.5%. So I'm glad I live in walking distance to this location.
So,
And I'm
the
glad
last,
that I'm just getting a
the
mini
season
pour.
of a strip mall lawyer is coming up, right?
Yeah.
Better Call Saul.
Great show.
Did you
Breaking
think
Bad,
so?
great show. I do. Well, I like the Saul Goodman character. I think that Bob Odenkirk does a really good job of portraying that. I don't even know how you want to say it, but like the sleazeball, but he's actually a good guy. He just does whatever he can to get ahead, kind of thing, and so he's not afraid to just get rid of any morals that he has. I like it. I'll be sad when the show's over, but at the same time, I'm kind of ready for the chapter to be closed, if that makes sense.
I got into it. I was 1.5 seasons in, and I got distracted. So once it's all said and done, I'll probably revisit that. My wife and I did enjoy the season and a half that we saw.
Yeah, my Josh is
and
rewatching Breaking Bad for I think the 7th or 8th time.
No, I don't think I'm into that.
right.
One time was good for me.
Yeah,
Great show.
I loved Breaking Bad, and so I did the same thing that you did, Marco. I watched the first season. I was like, I'm interested, but it does unfold very slow. It's not the
does.
same as Breaking Bad.
It does, yeah.
And I think I maybe got through half of the next season, and I just kind of lost interest. But
Well, that's all right.
I've heard lots of good things, so maybe I'll have to give it a try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's-
good beer. So,
Good
anyways.
beer. Thank you so much for this, and I'm looking forward to the other 3 that we have on the table in front of us as we go.
Yes.
Let's get into some podcasts, since that's what the core of the show is about. There were the podcasts that we asked Jason and Nick to listen to were Cincy Brewcast, the Dayton Brewcast this week in honor of April Fool's Day,
April Fools.
and Shift Beers, where Josh and Chris decided it would be a good idea to broadcast live from the Cincy Beerfest.
Sounds like a good idea, doesn't it?
But was it? We'll
Yeah,
let you know.
we'll let you know.
We will let you know. So, Jason, as our guest, what podcast do you want to go over first? Or do you want to take a quick break, finish this beer, and see if we can get Nick over here before we get too into the weeds?
I am fine with whatever we do, but I do want to get Nick's feedback on the Shift Beers podcast because
Yes.
I don't know if he
Yes.
did what I did, but I listened to it on 2 times speed, and it was absolute chaos. So
Well, we can talk about that when we talk about shift beers.
Yes, yes.
Why don't we go ahead and enjoy these beers?
Okay.
Take
a quick break
Take a
and-
quick time out, and
All right.
then come back to that.
Sounds excellent. We'll be right back with you guys.
I want to start a podcast that we just rip on everyone
I mean,
and all their beers.
Everybody
should
claims
do that.
there's a
Let's do-
podcast that's going to do that.
So,
and nobody
okay,
does
okay.
that.
so speaking of ripping on beers and some bottle shops too, what the hell is up with you guys having 450 North when all you normally have are good beers? What is up with that?
should we? Are you recording?
yeah.
Let's start.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
Okay. So
So-
you want to talk about 450 North?
I'd
right
love
now?
to.
Let's,
People buy it. That's why we have it.
Hold on.
I
Let's
like
put a little
money
stinger
more
in
than
here.
I like beer.
Money is cool.
Capitalism is real, and it's why you guys are here. So we now have the second guest to
Sorry, I
join
was
us on
late.
our podcast. All good.
I just
all
got my
good,
ass
man.
kicked.
Didn't you just throw Jason under the bus to get his ass kicked? I don't know what the situation was, but someone asked for the owner, and
Right.
you went, Jason, that's you.
They asked
It's
for,
your turn.
They asked for Jason. I was like, can I help you? She's like, no, I need Jason. I was like, okay. Let me go get him.
Well, you are a new voice on the podcast. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi,
And,
I'm Nick. I'm the sexier half of the two
Oh.
at Higher Gravity.
he's coming in hot, man.
There you
For not
go.
having any beers, coming in hot. I like
Way
it.
to go. Excellent.
And you are opting to not drink during the week, which is
Yes,
awesome. It is
just currently.
that is awesome.
I,
But you do have a drink in front of you. So what are you drinking?
good old fashioned H2O.
Hell yes. So
Yes, a lot of ice, a lot of water.
our man Marco
currently.
makes the best Queen City cocktails at
Yeah.
Higher
Is that
Gravity.
is that now? Wait, what is your version of the Queen City cocktail?
Just ice water.
Oh no,
Ice
no,
water.
You haven't truly lived
Oh.
till you have an glass of ice with a Bud Light in it. That's a Queen City cocktail right there.
No,
That's called the West Side
That's the, I was
Special.
gonna say that's the West Side cocktail. That's man, oh man.
I can remember being oh god, this is probably 20 years ago. I was at somebody's house and they had a glass of ice and poured a Bud Light in it, and then to stir it up, they just stuck their finger
Your
right
finger.
in it. and
That's all you
swirled it
need.
around.
That's
Yeah, I mean it's fine.
Did they drop a little salt on top too?
No, that's what
That's
your
only
finger's
draft.
for.
That's
Just
only
the
draft.
sweat on your
Oh.
finger. It's it's.
I
I was
going to
make a really bad joke there, but I'm not gonna do it.
Okay.
Not gonna do it.
No, okay, never mind. We won't go there.
So
Hey,
I
now.
finished the last of the double New England IPA. Jason, you just cracked the next beer that you brought over for us to try. You want to let us know what's gonna go in my glass next?
Yeah, I did, and I'm kind of sad we didn't get the crack on there because
Well, we have 2 more cans.
yeah,
we have,
it, I
we
mean
have
it sounded
opportunity.
it sounded nice.
It did sound really good.
I know there's a word that we're not allowed to say on this podcast, but
There are no words.
anyways,
have you ever listened to us before?
I
Yeah.
heard there's a Canadian podcast that doesn't like you saying it.
Oh,
The
yeah,
crispy crack.
Yes.
So the Newbert Report and us, we have a good rapport right now to where the Newbert Report, it's a group of 2 awesome Canadian guys who have lovely flannel. One of them has an amazing beard, and they don't try craft beers. They test
They
craft
test.
beers.
They're a
and
testing
sometimes
podcast.
they're a testing podcast, and sometimes they talk about hockey. So
Right.
give the Newbert Report a listen. But yes, they technically coined the term the crispy crack. for when
According to them.
According to them. I don't see a trademark anywhere, so it's kind of like free reign. But they have been gracious enough to say, we're not going to give you too much shit for saying crispy crack on your podcast.
I have
so
a
we're
feeling
good.
that when Nick cracks, it's very crispy.
No doubt.
yeah, it is. It's the crispiest actually.
The crispiest.
Now, is that crispy with a K or a C? I think that's important.
CRISPI.
Oh,
Crispy.
that I threw me off. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it does. It does. Everyone's like, whoa, unexpected. And you're like, well, that's just how it goes. I think the Canadians use a Y for crispy at the end, not the beginning. But,
okay.
you know, we'll have
That
to ask
could
them.
be.
So Brett Newbert, Duff, let us know. And let's get back to this
What-
fine beer that we're going to
What
be.
beer is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this crispy crack that we just had here is from Pipeworks, and it is a horchata ale. So it says it's an ale with rice, lactose, vanilla, and cinnamon. And I went in for a sip while we were on break, and it is delicious. But also, literally anything that says cinnamon in it, I'm going to think it's delicious.
You're in on cinnamon, huh?
Oh,
So
for
far,
sure.
everything that has Pipeworks in the name, it has been incredibly good.
They are
I
so
found.
good.
They're very
I'm
good.
very happy they're here now.
That was one of my nicknames in high school.
Oh, oh, we haven't had one of your nicknames in a while.
It's been a while.
In a couple
Yeah,
of
it's been a
episodes.
while.
I'm
Yeah.
glad that we were finally able to get back to that.
Yeah.
So, Nick, you came in at a perfect time. We have not started talking about any of the podcasts yet. So, did you happen to get a chance to listen to the Cincy Brewcast where he talked to Branch and Bone this week?
I unfortunately did not.
Okay.
I apologize.
That's fine. What we will do is we will quiz you and ask you for your opinion on what you think happened during
I like
certain
this.
parts of it.
I like this.
All right.
That's it.
And then there was the absolute train wreck that was this week's Shift Beers, where Chris and Josh recorded live from Cincy Beerfest.
Did you listen to that one, Nick?
No. I didn't have my.
Excellent.
I missed my headphones
Excellent.
today.
That's okay.
Forgot my headphones at home. I apologize.
So this is going to be absolutely amazing
Yes.
to have three of
gonna-
us that listen and one that we're like, so what did you think when they did this?
Right.
And that's part of our podcast is we don't give the entire truth because we want people to question what we say happened,
Yeah.
to where they go, I need to listen to their podcast. As the two guests on the show, do you guys want to start with Shift Beers or do you want to start with Cincy Brewcast?
Shift beers because you said
Hell
it was crazy, and I want to hear about it.
It was. So it was just Chris and just Josh, or Krispy Kreme and Marco.
Django Food Cake.
Jangle Fruitcake. We made drag names for them a couple weeks ago.
Oh.
And those were Marco's names. My name for Chris was Anita Goza because he was talking about how, as you do on Shift Beers, if you luge a beer through Chris's butt crack, it immediately turns into a Goza, like it referments.
Yeah, it
so
starts
Anita
as an
Goza.
IPA and then turns into a Goza.
Man, the people on the Patreon live stream watching Nick's face on this right now, it is priceless. And then for Josh, I picked, he loves Coney, so Sky Liner. So, because it pulls in the eyeliner, it pulls in the chili of Cincinnati.
Right.
But yeah, so episode 74, the Beerfest, or pre-Beerfest rather, with Josh and Chris.
It sounded like they were pre-beer festing, like
Right.
prior to actually recording. They had decided to go ahead and get a little sideways before they started
they
going around.
pregame before it. I don't want to say there's not a lot to talk about for this episode, but they just went to a couple of the beer tents, had some beers from some of the other breweries that were there, said how awesome they were, which I do not doubt in any way, shape, or form. But some of the notes that I did have were that they are going to be either changing the name of the podcast to Shift Beards because they talked with a bunch of people with incredibly fine beards, which
At a
two
beer
people at
fest?
this
That's
table
weird.
have beards, two do not. I'm still working on mine. It's one of these days. It'll happen.
Mine is impossible.
It's okay, Marco.
You'll get there one day. Don't worry.
One of these days. So the breweries that they stopped at were Cartridge Brewing, Brink, Narrow Path, Branch and Bone, Nine Giant, and then they went to Arsenal Ciders, who is not in Cincinnati yet, but they're working on it. Nick, because you said that you were enraptured by this episode,
Exactly.
which of those breweries do you think that they had the most fun at when they stopped at their tents? Each of the visits only lasted a few minutes.
Right. Well, let me set it up for you for the audience. Here he goes. Hey guys, you're live on Shift Beers. I'm Chris, and he's Josh. Hey.
If that isn't spot on, I don't know what is.
I'm gonna throw out Brink as the one that they had the most fun at. Now I'm curious. Now when they went up there, were they asking the people pouring the beers the questions, or were they like finding the person that actually worked at the brewery? Because I think it would be funny if they just went up to the volunteers and asked them their opinions of what they were pouring, because half of them have no idea.
Right. That's hilarious.
Right. So
That's having worked as a representative for a brewery for these events. It's hilarious watching all the people think that the volunteers are
just like,
actually
so
have
like-
anything at all to do with the brewery.
Can you tell me about this milkshake double goza? You're like, I'm just pouring the beer, man. They said I could come here for the free one next time, so I'm just here doing that.
Well, the first beer fest I went to, my assumption was the people at the tents were either sales reps or distributors that they knew the brewery, and then it's like, I got no idea about this. I'm like, I'm sorry for asking you questions now, and I was like, I'll just slink back over here.
All of them get paid to go, and then they all just go around talking to each other.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes. But I will say, I think you're right by saying that Brink was where they had the most fun, because Brink was stationed right next to Sweet Jazz Treats Bakery's food truck.
Yeah.
Who is going to be opening a location right up the street from Brink at the corner of Hamilton and North Bend. And so they're standing there, and Chris saw all of these treats and went, I'm going to fuck this food truck up. The owner, Jasmine, apparently, who owns that, was there, and you hear her in the background just start cracking up, and he was like, boy, she was not ready for that.
Right.
With Chris and Josh, I mean, who's ever ready for anything that the two of them are going to throw at you? So that was a pretty awesome part of the breweries that they visited and food trucks that they visited.
It didn't sound like anybody was ready for what was coming to them.
No.
Every single tent started with, "Hey, we're with Shift Beers. What are you doing over here?"
Well, and even before that, it started with, "Hey, is there anyone over at the Nine Giant tent? Oh, do they know we're coming? No, they don't see us yet. Let's go!" And they just charged in. And then we're like, yo, this is, as you said, and as Marcus said, this is, Josh and Chris, you're on Shift Beers, you're live, even though this isn't live. We're just recording this
and
to
even
edit
though
later.
They're probably in all their head-to-toe brewery swag that they're,
because they
recording
were
a
representing the
podcast
brewery
for.
that they don't work at.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not, this is not a podcast for the conglomerate that they work for or whatever. But
Correct.
I am interested to find out what this new equipment is that they have. Little equipment jealousy.
They said they
if
borrowed
they
it
can
from
run around.
Gnome, so...
They borrowed it?
Well, they said that Gnome helped them out with it. I took that as they borrowed it, but maybe not.
I don't know.
Maybe some of my Patreon dollars for Shift Beers is going
Well,
towards...
they did credit the Patreon.
They did.
Maybe
We'll have to find out.
Maybe because he's no longer in Cincinnati, he just left all
Ooh.
of his
Right.
equipment.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true. Moving, when you have a
Dayton.
lot of stuff to move, sometimes you leave things behind.
Yeah.
So maybe when Gnome moved to Dayton, which we'll talk about when we go over Cincy Brewcast, or I'm sorry.
You can
the
just
Dayton
see Nick's
Brewcast.
mind exploding
Exploding,
right now.
yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah,
He was
we-
literally here like 2
yeah.
weeks ago taking pictures.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dayton's not that far away,
It's not, no.
but he had been kind of teasing that there was big news for
Yeah.
Cincy Brewcast for about a week and a half.
So is it Greater Cincy Brewcast? Is it getting renamed?
Greater.
Let's finish the Shift Beer segment, and then we will blow Nick's mind with what is going on with the Gnome and Cincy Brewcast. Let's see, what else did I have here? Arsenal Ciders, that was one of the last places that they went to, and Arsenal Ciders said that they are not currently being distributed in Cincinnati, but they're working on it. They had a whole bunch. They had 8 ciders on tap at Cincy Beerfest
Sounds
that they were sharing. And
right.
if you're a cider person, I know nothing about them, but you can apparently order their ciders to be delivered to you online at Arsenal. They messed up the website name, so I'm going
You're
to correct
kidding.
it for the Shift Beers guys.
Really?
Imagine that. ArsenalCiderHouse.com. If you want to try out some new ciders. We have a lot of great ciders that are already being distributed in the Cincinnati area. There's actually one we're going to be sipping on later in this episode.
later.
Yeah. So let's see, what else was there.
Question.
Yeah.
Did anyone at the table go to Cincy Beerfest?
I
did
did
not.
not.
No.
Did you?
I went a couple years ago, and I don't remember much of what
I remember
happened.
a lot of what happened.
I don't. There were some selfies on my phone that I don't remember taking. I apparently had a good time.
I like the smaller ones now. The big one, I'm kind of over.
So what smaller beer fest? Because this was a beer cast or a beer.
I really like the.
episode.
Did I see you? I saw you at the Fowling one. That one was really
That
cool.
one was fun.
I really like that one.
Beers,
Oh, I
booze,
was there.
bonk- Yeah.
Yeah.
Beer, booze,
Yeah.
bunks, boinks, binks,
We
banks.
fouled against each other.
Yeah.
What?
Didn't we?
Well, not against. You guys were in the row next to
Yeah,
us, so
yeah,
we
yeah.
were.
Yeah.
We were trying to field each other's footballs
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it kept just bouncing
Yeah.
all over the place.
Yeah.
My arm was sore for like 6 weeks. It was awful.
It's harder than it looks, and
So-
You walk
Yeah.
in, you're like, dude, I'm gonna dominate. And you're
This
like,
is so
damn, I
easy. You're like,
suck.
oh my god,
Right.
I'm terrible at all of this.
So the last-
and Lee and I won. Just saying, just throwing that out there again.
I don't know.
I'm
not sure. I don't know.
So the two of you were against each other.
Correct.
And so who won? Team Jason or Team Nick?
I think we won 2 out of 3. I want to say.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think
And his wife carried him. Just so we all are clear here.
His
Allie
wife
carried,
is fantastic. Yes.
yes,
Yeah. So
Allie.
I'd buy that.
Yes.
I'd
But,
buy
Yeah.
but what he's also not saying is Lauren carried him. It's just his wife or future wife was better than my wife.
current wife.
This is true.
Hey,
The last-
the women do typically carry, most of that,
Yeah.
regardless of what it is. So makes sense. Makes sense. It
I'm
tracks.
fine. Yeah,
But
sounds
yeah,
good to me.
beer, booze, and bunks was amazing.
That
I
was
did
fun.
hear that they are working on Gnome. I'm not sure who else he's going to be working
Yeah.
with on this.
No,
There was
happy
going
to
be
help you
another
work on
one,
that.
but
Happy
absolutely,
to help
yeah.
you work on that, sir.
Let's see, what else was there? Narrow Path. When they went to Narrow Path.
They didn't poke any beers there. I don't think you can bring a
No,
I don't think you can
flaming
bring
hot poker
a
in
flaming
that.
hot poker into the Duke Energy Center.
No. But Chris and Josh did talk more about the Narrow Path display setup than they did the beer.
Right.
They're like, man, the chalkboard, art that you have for the names
Yeah.
of the beers and the flowers and this and this. I need to get my wife in here to look at how you have this set up so we can do this in our front yard. And I'm like, what about the beer? I mean, Narrow Path makes absolutely amazing beer. Aren't you
make
going to
great
let us
beer.
know what they had there? No, not a word. It was all about the flowers and the chalk.
Well, they assumed you were going to be there trying it yourself.
This is true.
So.
This is true. Yeah.
I
You know what
I
assumption?
do-
You know what happens when you assume?
What? No, I have no idea.
You make an ass out of you and me.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow, it's the first time all of us have heard that one. Go
Breaking
ahead,
news.
Jason,
Yeah,
you had a
It's interesting though because when I was listening to it, and I was listening to it on 2 times speed.
I bet that was amazing.
I didn't have enough time to be able to do it on
Sure.
normal speed, and like I said, it was absolute chaos. But the main beers I remember them talking about were Narrow Path beers,
Yes.
and they seemed like they were
Yes.
very excited about the beers. Yes, they were super pumped about the chalk artwork,
Mm-hmm.
but. They were loving on Narrow Path beers, and I don't feel like a lot of people in Cincinnati really know what Narrow Path is.
No, what they do.
and
Well,
have
they don't
experienced it.
distribute. They don't do
It's-
anything, which I understand is their.
I don't think they even put. Yeah, I don't think they put a keg of beer
don't.
anywhere other than Narrow Path. Even
No.
though there are other businesses that embrace craft beer right there in that Loveland Bike Trail area.
Right, and I've asked about getting their beer in, and they just have said that they don't have enough beer, which is
Makes sense,
that's
but-
awesome for them. But
Yeah.
I personally I bike a lot, so I love any brewery or bar that's on a bike trail. So if you haven't been to Narrow Path, you should definitely get to Narrow
Yeah.
Path.
Has
Did you-
everyone here been in Narrow Path before? I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am.
We have,
Yeah.
that
Oh, yeah.
place
Did you
is
try
amazing.
the beer that was concept after an old fashioned that we had on our show?
Oh
a few
my
months
god,
back?
that was ridiculous.
God, that was so good. I forget what the name of the beer was.
I could probably look back through my notes, but I'm not going to.
Yeah,
but it
but
was,
it's fine.
yeah, it was.
It was amazing.
good.
I mean, you could taste all those flavors of an old fashioned in that beer. It was-
That's
it was-
crazy.
It was
Were you
phenomenal.
Were you guys at Narrow Path?
Yeah.
Well, Marco
I
went down there.
I went and I had it at Narrow Path,
And
and
then
I,
he got a
I grabbed
growler.
a growler to go.
Yeah. So just talking about beers, this Pipeworks Horchata is ridiculously good.
It's so
Like
good.
it is. It's still super light, but it still has that rich, creamy feel of drinking a horchata. So.
Were you
Good
guys
job.
talking about breakfast beers in the last episode, or was that a
But
different?
yeah,
Yeah,
we were.
That was a
we were,
Shift
but yeah.
Beers. That was a Shift Beers theme, so we covered it in our show.
Yes.
Okay,
So,
that's
yeah,
what I
you're
thought.
correct there.
This I could drink at any breakfast.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like pair this with French toast, and
Oh,
Yeah.
or eat pancakes, anything.
Yeah.
Anything. Not eggs. Probably not eggs, but
I
something
don't like eggs
real
anyway.
Really?
You don't like
I just
Any-
can't
You
get
don't
behind
like-
it.
No.
eggs at all, or
No, you know what eggs are, right?
Well, I mean, you know what? You know what
I
a
have no idea where he's
steak
going with
is.
that.
You know. Yeah, well,
so
Would
you
you
have
like
a
to-
problem with it at the beginning, just not at the end?
or is it the end and not the beginning? Which came first?
I don't know. Either way, I find it disgusting.
Oh, okay.
All right, that's fair.
Have you
That's
never
fair.
had an omelet before?
No.
Oh
So
my
have you?
God.
tried,
Have you
I've tried,
okay, I was gonna say, have you never
Jeez.
had
You
it,
mean
or
like
have
in
you
your
just
life
not?
or in your adult life?
Both. I've had an omelet, and I've had
Like
eggs.
how recently?
I mean, I actually, because
I mean, he ate chicken tenders for like 10 years, I feel like.
eggs are super healthy for you, right? So
Yeah.
I do try them like every 6 months. I'm like, I'm gonna like them this time.
Twice a year, Jason's gonna have like a single egg.
Yeah, he's like on 4th
This
of July
time-
and on Christmas morning, I'm going to give an egg a shot.
For 2022,
Doesn't work. Damn it.
hard boiled. Like he picks a style each time.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
one time is scrambled,
maybe you just
one
haven't
time
found the
is
style
overcooked.
There's a
you like
Google
that.
Doc. A Google Doc with the
Google- yeah.
egg.
Have you tried them
types.
over easy?
I've tried them a lot of different ways.
I don't
and
know.
I just,
Okay,
I
so-
think
Another
it's,
nickname-
it's, it's
another
a,
nickname
it's
from
a
high school.
texture and it's like concept of eggs. It's just like I don't know.
Because they come out of the chicken?
Well, it's unfinished. It's
I like the shoulder shrug with that, like when it's
unfinished.
coming out of it.
It's unfinished. It's finished when you finish it. You finish the egg.
I'm.
What are you talking?
It's
It's
just like
unfinished.
it would have been it could have been a chicken.
True.
And I'm fine with eating a chicken, but I'm not fine with eating an unfinished chicken. If
But
that-
you know what? Until the yolk splits, at what point is an egg a fetus? I mean, this is a whole like philosophical,
doesn't-
like
it's
ethical
like,
decision.
I can't-
So Nick, you mentioned over easy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm an over medium kind of person.
Well,
what kind
it
of cook
depends
style?
on the day. It really does.
Okay.
It depends on where I am.
That's
'Cause
true.
certain
That's
places
true.
do
So it's
certain
like
things.
beer. It's a lot like beer.
Yeah,
It really
yeah, it really is.
Wow, we are tying eggs into beer. Okay, so the next brewery, the next local Cincinnati brewery that makes an egg-inspired beer,
Ugh.
do not do it. I will not drink it, but I'm just saying, you could tie the two together somehow.
Yeah.
Breakfast beer, all that kind of stuff. But no, this Pipeworks beer is ridiculously good. Narrow Path makes absolutely amazing beers. Who also makes amazing beers, according to Chris and Josh, is Branch and Bone, which I've bought many a very expensive 4-pack from you guys at Higher Gravity, both locations. They said that they're going to be releasing in bottles a beer called Empty Page within the next month-ish.
Right.
It's going to be hitting distribution apparently, and it was one of the best beers that they said that they had tried during the, 5, 6 different brewery tents
Yeah.
that they visited for this episode. So if that hits Higher Gravity, I'm all in. I might try to leverage my Stein Club membership to say, hey, hold a bottle or two of that back for me.
We can usually make that happen for you.
Yes. Sponsored segment of the show. Sign up for the Higher Gravity Stein Club. You get an amazing hand-thrown ceramic mug that you can either take home, leave here. If you take it home, they'll give you one to use when you show up. You get discounts on your drafts. You can, get special releases, all that kind of good stuff.
and
15% off merchandise.
and the best part is those Steins are made by a guy named John Stein.
That's amazing.
Boom.
He was born
I
to
mean,
do it.
he was.
Yeah.
He really was. And Higher Gravity was made to sell them, have them, whatever the proper terminology is for that.
Sure.
Yeah. It's,
So, yeah.
it's fate.
It is. Kismet, as they would say.
Right. I was
from the
I was-
Sonder,
I
the
gave it
Sonder
to
world.
you. I gave right there for you.
I think that's pretty good for the shift beer segment. We do have one of our typical segments to go over the burp count, but
Oh,
there was
yeah.
one more note that I had that I know the Newbert Report will appreciate. They said something about right across the street is this great place where you can get gravy fries or gravy cheese fries. Guys, it's called poutine. Get a little more cultured, please, especially when you're talking about food.
Wait,
Yeah.
time out. I mean, depends where you are.
Well, they typically aren't wrong with the description, but there is like a name for gravy cheese fries, and it's poutine. Are we gonna fight, Nick? Are we gonna?
Oh, yeah.
are we gonna-
yeah.
Okay,
I
let's
mean,
throw it
like,
down.
it depends on where you are. Like, I mean, I know, there is poutine.
Yes.
But then, if you go to Pleasant Ridge Chili, that's gravy cheese fries. There
But
ain't
what-
nothing
what's-
fancy
what's the
about
di-
it.
But what's the difference, though? If
Because
the
it's-
entire concept is
I think it's just
fries,
gravy out of, like,
gravy
a can.
cheese, but it's still
There's nothing French on the menu.
but it's still fries, gravy, and cheese. So
Agreed.
how-
But I'm
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I'm more right than you are with this.
You won't have to fight about this in the parking lot later.
There's no parking lot.
Well,
Dude, the next beer Nick
we'll find
pours
one.
me is going to be a seltzer over this one. I know it. I know
One of these
it.
days, I'm going to give it to you, and you're going to be real upset.
And I'll drink it anyway, but I'll be like, God Damn it!
He's gonna
Come
ice.
on.
He's gonna ice you.
Oh no! I'd rather have this. Oh
you
God.
guys could ice her.
You no.
We do it once a year
Did that. I was
usually.
just gonna say they did that in 2 years ago's beer event calendar.
Did you actually get down on a knee and?
I
take the
did.
ice? Yeah.
Did you really?
After I drank the PBR that you had in the standard box. Because that was the year you did the two different
yeah,
boxes,
yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I think I posted a picture of the two
Yes.
next to you, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this is the worst night ever.
It won a blue ribbon.
You know, awards don't mean shit, okay? Let's just.
Blue ribbon. It's hilarious.
But yes, I did get down on one, and Josh is like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "It's just you and me, and no one's gonna know." I'm like, "I'd know if someone asked." I
would've
couldn't
known.
do the whole thing because it was cold. It had been in the fridge, and I'm like, "Oh, this is starting to hurt because of how cold it was."
I'll tell.
I tried. I tried.
Before we go into the last segment for Shift Beers,
Yes.
I'll tell a very quick true story
Yes,
from
let's do
Cincy
it.
Beerfest. So the last Cincy Beerfest I attended, it was February 2020, right before everything shut down. That was the last event in Ohio, basically, that was able to happen. And one thing that I never miss is the bacon on a stick. It's freaking amazing. They have a food truck there with bacon on a stick.
Why do you need bacon on a stick? Bacon's already like a finger food.
It's amazing.
Is
What
it-
it is, it's so if you take bacon and you cook it and it's not on a stick, what happens is because of the fat content and then cooking it out, it shrinks. But when it stays on that stick like that, it keeps it, the length of the bacon.
Okay, so it's all about length. Is what you're saying.
I mean, it usually is.
Okay.
With bacon.
All right.
And then, so.
What about girth for bacon? Is that important?
Oh yeah,
Well,
it was
but
very
you know
girthy.
what?
Yeah.
It
When
had
most of
a
the
great
girth-
deal of girth. There was still, a good deal of thickness.
Yeah.
fattiness, yes.
But are we talking about depth or width or both?
Why not?
Well,
both?
it's
Yeah,
the whole
so
thing.
it's a
the
very,
whole package.
It's very
I think.
long,
Yeah.
and then the width is, it's wide. It's got girth to it. It's I don't know. It's delicious.
I don't
Either
know,
way.
but sometimes
It's the
a
way
lot
you
of
spell
sometimes
delicious.
a lot of that girth from bacon is fat, and unless it's cooked enough, I don't want it. So it's more about the length and how you're going to be enjoying it more so than how
Try it,
thick
enjoy
it
it.
is. Okay.
Try it.
All
I'm
right,
telling you, give it a
that's
shot.
All
Give it a
right.
shot.
So
And-
not to take away from this girthy conversation, but I did. So you had said last time that you were at Beerfest was like the one before everything shut down.
Yep.
We used to go to Beerfest every year. It's something that we always did.
Mm-hmm.
This year we didn't go. It was kind of weird because it was in April and not February.
Right.
And February is always like, yeah, let's go. Nothing else is
Yeah.
going on.
Right.
We can go and we can essentially like drink around the world while we're there, be inside. It's nice and warm. Get 40 different beers, even though there's only 30 beer tickets. And
Right.
then we'll be warm when we leave and walk away. But was it 2 years ago or is it 3 years now? I've lost track of time. But
Time means nothing anymore. I've
it
realized.
doesn't. It really doesn't. But I remember the last thing that I remember at Beerfest was because it felt awkward when we were all there because it was right at the beginning of the pandemic.
People weren't sure what was going on.
Stuff
yet.
hadn't shut down, but people were like, shit, something's going on.
Yep.
I'm kind of nervous about it, but I still want to go out.
Yep.
And I just remember some guy grabbing one of the dump buckets. So every booth has a dump bucket.
Yeah.
Where,
Yeah.
if you don't like your beer or if
Just dump it out.
It's
Yeah.
too much, I'm just going to dump it in this
Yeah.
bucket. So it's basically this giant cuvee of people's slobber and beer. And
Yep.
some dude during a pandemic, which take away pandemic, it's disgusting.
Even still.
Picks
Right.
it up and chugs the dump bucket. And we're all standing there like,
I mean, that was the vaccine. He found it. We just didn't know
he
it
found
right
it.
I
then.
mean-
yeah.
did he find it?
Yeah.
Or is he dead?
Is he dead
No,
now?
no.
Does anyone
he-
know?
No, yeah. I saw him last
Was that
week.
Fauci?
Yeah.
Shit.
You saw him last week.
Guys, I have the cure.
He
I
was
know
here.
what
He was,
to do.
he was here last week. Ordered a highball. So
Oh my God. That's
there. And the other thing, I told you, the brewers just get together and drink with each other. If you go up to the second floor, they have
Oh yeah, that's where
a
the special
room.
people are. I've never been invited up there.
That's where they have lunch in between sessions for the people that are working the booths, and they have just ice chests full of packaged beer that you can just drink, right? So 18th Street Brewery had patio pills.
Oh, nice.
And they were 2 booths down from us. And it was getting towards the end of the Saturday session, which gets kind of crazy. And I had my cargo pants on because when I'm not,
You were housing patio
not at my
pills.
day job, I wear cargo pants. And so I went up to him and he's like, okay, I'll have a Pilsner. And he takes out the can. I'm like, dude, just give me the can. And so he gives me the can, and he's like, here, take. And he gave me like 4 cans, right? So I put them in my cargo pants, and I helped take down our brewery setup and everything. And I had a hotel room at the hotel, not the one that got torn down and was just a pile of shit.
Not the Millennium.
Yeah, not the Millennium, but the other one. Was the Hilton or the Hyatt or whatever.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Ides of March before?
Mm-mm.
So it's George Clooney and the other guy that's in one of the Ryans, maybe, who's in
Gosling?
Ryan Gosling.
Well, it might be Ryan Gosling. Yeah, I know
it's
what you're
George
talking
Clooney
about.
and Ryan Gosling. There's a part in that movie where there's a girl who's just super mad at Ryan Gosling. She's like, I have to stay across the river in Covington. You're staying at the Millennium. We don't belong together because the Millennium is so nice.
And everyone watching from Cincinnati is like, what?
Everyone outside of
No.
Cincinnati is like, I should go stay at the Millennium.
Hell
And
nah. That hotel was so awful. So we would park at the Millennium because it was like, I don't know, $20 or whatever. But at the Hilton or whatever it is right across the street, it was like $60 a night. So I parked in the parking garage there, walked through the lobby, and the elevators were broken.
So they were stairs.
The elevators at a hotel.
I'm thinking escalator,
a
not
freaking
elevator.
like skyscraper hotel was broken.
Oh my God.
So anyway, yeah, that hotel was terrible. But
That's
anyways,
amazing.
so I finish, I take down, I tear down, I go eat dinner at the hotel, bar restaurant, and I go upstairs and
you pull
go
a
to
30
sleep,
rack
and-
of patio pills out of your pants.
no, what happens is the next morning I wake up and my wife's coming to get me, so I, brush teeth, pull up pants. I'm like, why are my pants so fucking heavy? Well, because they had 2 cans of Pilsner still in them.
So you drank 2.
Yeah, I guess I found other beer other places.
There you
But
go.
yeah, I had 2 cans of beer still in my pockets.
That's amazing. So after one of the 50 West Smilers that they do for you in the Flying Pig, you always get a beer after each one. And, when you do with a group, sometimes people just don't want their beer afterwards. Oh, okay, I'll take it. One year, I was walking back to my car. So, I think I had parked by the Duke Energy Convention Center. So, because, it was cheaper parking. So I'm like, I'll just walk a couple extra blocks and, pay $5 less for parking. I was walking back I had leggings that had pockets on the side. I somehow managed to shove 2 12-ounce cans of beer in each pocket. I had 3 beers, in my sports bra. And I'm like...
Been there, done that.
If there's a cop that asks me, what are you doing? I'm not going to have an answer for him. People didn't want their beers. They're unopened, so I'm just taking them home.
Right.
It was probably the most bizarre thing. People probably just didn't want to approach me. I don't know what the hell she's doing, but we'll just let her
It's a workout thing.
do her walk of shame. Yeah, I was rucking. I was carrying weight back to my car in the form of beer.
Okay.
So before we get to the final segment of Shift Beers,
Okay, all right, one more
this was
thing.
about beer festivals. Do you guys have a favorite beer fest? This is just quick. Is there have you been to a beer festival anywhere?
Any beer
and
festival.
just in general. What was the most fun, the most exciting, the worst, whatever? Just what beer fest have you been to that stands out the most?
Oh, the one where my buddy just straight up passed out, and we had to call the ambulance.
Oh, no.
This is at downtown convention
Oh,
center.
no.
This is God, this had to be
Was it
10
Beerfest
years
or
ago.
was it a different-
Beerfest.
Okay,
It was like,
okay. Oh.
Do you
this may have
remember
been
doing
the-
that, Jason?
This may have been the first.
I don't remember the ambulance ride.
Okay.
I did get the bill, though.
This is my buddy
man.
Sparn, and I don't know what happened to him, but we turned around.
And he
And-
was okay afterwards, right?
Yeah, and
Good
we turned around, and he's on the ground, and there's people who claim that they're nurses helping him, and me and my buddy
Claim
are just standing there
You don't need to show a card. You just show up
You
and
just say,
help.
I'm a
and-
nurse. You're right.
So should we just go get a beer over here? All right, we'll be back.
Yeah.
Good luck, buddy.
we can see him from the tent. We'll just,
You look like you're in good hands.
Oh, my God.
What am I gonna do?
Jeez. Jason, how about you?
I don't know. It's a good question. Beer, Booze, and Bonks Festival I really
was a
liked
lot
because
of
it had
fun,
an
yeah.
activity with it.
It did.
There's
Yeah.
There's just so many Beerfests now, and it's all like, let's just.
You mean
Beerfest-
silent disco is not like a cool enough activity for you?
I do love silent disco, but I have to be like exponentially fucked up to get out. So
You're
but
walking through Beerfest and you're like, look at all these. What is going on?
so I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if people kind of change the way that they do these beer fests and start to add more activities, like the Foaling thing did. 50 West. I don't know.
Well, I guess
I don't know if they're ever
Beer
going to,
Fest.
but it
I mean,
is
it
kind
kinda
of a
is,
beer
yeah.
fest.
It's one of the best
Events.
Events.
Yeah.
Forget locally.
Yeah.
Who's doing anything like that on
Yeah.
any level nationally
For sure.
as a craft brewery?
Right.
That's a
Right.
freaking awesome event, and hopefully one of these years it comes back soon.
Yeah.
Max, if you're listening, I know we talked like 3 years ago about being a celebrity judge. I know I'm not much of a celebrity, but I would love
You
to
are
be a
that.
judge.
Oh yeah, you definitely celebrities.
I do. I think stuff like that, where you can incorporate the beer, have a lot of beer from all around the world, all around the city, whatever, but
And there's
still
something
have people
additional
do
to do.
something.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
They also did like a bottle share one year, and I know that was through BC's Bottle Lodge,
That's-
which,
oh,
which
that's
is,
right, at their
which is
VIP
your normal
tent,
host,
didn't
and
they?
I
Yeah.
hope we didn't offend anybody by taking you away, but
They still get plenty of our money. I don't think they're...
Yeah, they get. I mean, plenty of our money.
But yeah,
All
any
good.
ideas where you can throw something in there, a bike ride, hitting people in the face, is always
Axe
fun.
throwing.
Yeah. Axe throwing.
Oh, yes, drunken axe throwing. That'll be fantastic.
Yeah.
Marco,
I've
how
never
about you?
been. Well, so I'm going to throw this out here.
Yeah.
Circling back to 450 North, one of these years, I do want to go to their maze one.
That's the one that I was
The
going to say
corn
is my
maze?
favorite.
Yeah.
It is.
So you've been.
I've been
It sounds
several
amazing.
times.
Oh, that was a good
I
one.
have to say, it is, and not that I've been to like a ton of beer fests, but it is probably the most well organized, amazingly put on beer festivals that I've ever been to.
Okay.
Well, what do you drink when you're there, though?
Well, you don't drink the 450 North when you're there. They have so many other breweries. Yeah, they have so many other breweries. You don't have to drink the 450
BYOJ.
North.
Okay.
If you don't even have to pick up your free 4-pack that you get with your tip. Well, I guess it's not free if it's part of the ticket price, but you know what I mean.
If it's part of the ticket price, I'll pick it up and
They have some
try to hock it
absolutely
online.
amazing breweries. The concept is amazing. They actually had like water stations. So each of the groups of like 8 to 10 breweries are in like a circle cut out of this corn maze, which isn't really a maze. It's just like a path between them that kind of zigzags. So you feel like, trust me, you get drunk enough, you can still get lost.
That's what I'm
Trust
saying.
me, it's
I
not.
just want to walk around and see people lost.
But it's funny because it is in the sun. There is no shade whatsoever unless they're going to change that this year. But you're drunk enough to where you're walking in this dedicated path that you know leads somewhere. You know it's not going to be a dead end, and you're just like, I've been in here for hours. We're never going to get out of here. And you're like 190-degree corner away
like a
from
beer
everything
fest at
else.
IKEA.
It's amazing, but it's incredibly well organized. They have water stations in each of the like circles where all the like beer tents are. So no matter where you are, you can get something. You can get water if you need. Food trucks. I wish they had some free food options there, but it's all food trucks. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's hands down been my favorite
Okay.
beer event.
And then do you
It's
stay in
worth it.
Columbus? Is there like hotels in Columbus or like
Not super close. I mean,
Okay.
Josh and I have always just sat in the car until we were sober enough for me to drive home. Because we're like, we
we'll
can
cut
stay
that
out
part.
We're only an hour and a half from home. It's fine.
I'm just gonna take a nap.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's-
isn't Columbus like the city in the United States that has the most roundabouts? Like, how hard is that to navigate after?
well, when you don't remember driving around them, I probably drove through them. So, I mean, it's worth going. I mean, even if you don't like 450 North, just don't get any of their beers. But I mean, it's.
I'm going to go
absolutely
off on a
amazing.
tangent here. I just
Okay.
want to say
Okay.
F roundabouts. I would just to all of the elected officials who decided to take away the only thing that brings law and order to our streets and from a driving purpose, and to take them away and say, you know what, fuck it, let them figure it out.
All right, Marco, do you have a favorite beer festival that you've been to before we get to our last?
Before he gets this, we're gonna need a whole podcast of just us arguing with Marco about why roundabouts are
Yes.
more superior.
Yes,
to
that'll be a
intersections.
bonus episode. Let's do it after we're
I
done
mean,
with this. If we have time,
It's
I'm
more
in.
fun to almost get hit like every time you're coming to work, Marco. I don't know what you hate about
You
it.
just ramp over the center of
I
it. It's
swear to
fine.
God, every
It's
time.
fine.
Every time there's an old
Every
lady just
time-
like not knowing what's going on.
Every time I hit that circle, I'm like, they better stop, because if not, I'll be late to work.
It's not the people stopping. It's the people already in it who just stop in the middle of it. You're like, what are you doing? Go,
Well,
please.
that's the thing. They're like, I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
don't know what
oh no,
I'm
it's
doing.
always like you go
just
around
don't
on some
understand.
old lady like scared out of her mind. You're like, oh my god.
What Lampoon's Vacation was it? Where they just got stuck
Yeah,
in the roundabout?
European,
Hey,
European.
yeah.
These elected
So, okay.
officials. Let the peasants figure out all of this. We intelligent people will not get stuck in the roundabout.
It's natural selection.
Right.
It really is. All
Okay.
right, Marco, beer festival. Do you have a favorite one?
I think that one was the one right before COVID. I haven't been to many beer festivals, so I have been to that beer festival over and over again. That also was one where somebody got thrown out because they urinated on some things that they shouldn't have been urinating on.
Like
I've
electronics.
got a few stories there, but that was a great beer festival, and so I give that one my vote.
All right.
And hopefully I get to go to a lot more beer festivals coming up. That way I have more to choose from
there
as
you
my
go.
favorite.
There you go.
Yeah, all
Well,
right.
Marco, do you want to introduce the last segment of Shift Beers before we take a quick break and then get into Cincy Brewcast?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
So there's one podcast in Cincinnati that we decided to, if you chose to do so and participate, turned into a drinking game, and that is Shift Beers. So what we do is we listen to and count all the audible burps that Shift Beers puts out, because you can't count unaudible burps.
Imagine
And then what we do is we give you a tally of total burps, and then we say, based off an average sip or drink of 2 ounces, let you know how many total ounces, how many pints you would have gone through if you participated in this Shift Beers drinking game, which, I mean, one of these days, Julia, I mean, somebody's going to do it. Just contact us or contact Shift Beers, and we'll make sure that you're on the Platinum Patreon participating on that.
And you'll
you
get
on
a free
YouTube.
drinking koozie.
Yep, free drinking
There we go.
koozie.
All right, so for episode 74 of Shift Beers, I wasn't sure if this was going to be an episode where they burped a lot or a little because they were just running around drinking beer. It could have gone either way. So I'm not upset at this number because
You
of
wanna
what
give
they
it
were
a guess,
doing.
Nick?
Yeah, Nick, do you want to? How many burps do you think they had in this episode?
So they're running around and just go, "You're live on Shift Beers. I'm Chris, and this is Josh."
I'm gonna say that they had 28 burps. Is this a combo between the two or just
The two,
Yeah. Both-
it's
both count.
anything
Yeah.
audible. 'cause
And
it's-
also any of the guests, like if any of the guests count
Right.
as well.
So because you can't always tell who's burping, it's
Right,
not
you
like we can
can't.
say, "Oh, that was Josh,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was Beth, that was whatever." So
you
it's
haven't
just
learned their cadence yet?
not every now and then. Sometimes you're like, "Oh, that was totally Brian doing
And
that."
then sometimes there's a little gurgle thing, and then like a
Ugh.
pre-burp situation.
Yeah.
one. Awful.
I'm gonna stick with 28.
28.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Jason, did you happen to keep count? Did you? You probably had no idea that we were going to even ask this.
I'm going to
but-
say 2.
Okay. I think he looked at my notes. So they did only have 2 audible burps during this one, but they were talking to people, and I think they knew that it would be like,
I wanna make
"Hey,
excuses.
I'm Josh and I'm Chris. Blah, here's Shift Beer." That's not,
That
gonna
would be
work.
funnier
It would be
though.
hilarious.
Yes, I would. That's
So-
what should have happened.
So guys, next Beerfest, try harder. That's all we're saying.
Yeah, do better,
But
be
yeah,
better.
Two burps. That's 4 ounces of liquid. That's a quarter of a pint. That's not even a half.
Which is
quart.
about, I mean, what is that? Like 3 of those little cups that they give you at the beer
Yeah.
fest? How
Not
many
even.
ounces are those cups? Are they like 2-ounce cups
2 or 3.
something?
Could be.
No, somebody told me this year they were like 6-ounce
5
cups.
ounce.
God.
Yeah, they like do 5 or 6 ounce cups usually. At least I don't know.
Have
The
you-
early entry ones.
Have you ever tested, like, try to actually play this out, right, and see because 2 ounces seems like a lot in a sip, or maybe it's not a lot. Like, does it actually take you 12 sips to finish a beer?
That's science, and we don't do science on the
I don't-
show. But no, I definitely want to. I do want to try it.
Did
I
you
just
want to make
never.
it a 0.5 today?
Yeah,
Do you want
let's-
to make it a
let's-
separate
let's-
episode?
I mean,
Let's
we'll
try
only get
this.
two sips in,
That's
Right.
fine.
So we'll have to
We'll
weigh it
have
out.
to like measure out 4
Yeah.
ounces and see if that's to actual.
We can do that.
Let's do that. All right. Well, let's take a real quick break so we can finish what we have in our glasses and open up the next can, and we will get into what may or may not be the Cincy Brewcast for this week.
Right.
All right. We'll be right back, guys.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank
Yes,
you
we
for
are.
being patient with us during that second or moment of silence that you had there.
Podcast time is so weird.
Yeah.
It is bumping in here tonight. I am so glad
Nice.
that this location is
Nice crowd.
It's right across from a park. I knew it was going to do well, but I am so glad that from day one, even the soft launch, that Higher Gravity Summit Park has been just full all the time. or
Just
most of the
you
time.
wait.
Oh yeah.
Just you wait.
Oh,
It's
I'm-
gonna be chaos. You're gonna hate it.
Are you guys
I'm
gonna
gonna hate
be-
it. There'll be so many people in here. I'll be like, why are you all here?
Are you going to be open during Red, White, and Blue Ash?
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
I'm,
that's
I'm
gonna be-
requesting off, but yeah, we're open.
Well, hopefully.
I requested
Nick's
off
gonna
my
work down in
full-time job.
Yeah, Nick's going to be like, I'm in Northside today, guys. I'm
Sorry,
not.
I
I'm
gotta
not
handle
doing it."
Northside. Sorry.
Well, by then, hopefully, you guys will have kind of a Dora district around some.
That's the
park.
plan.
So that
June 1st is the latest. They're
nice.
saying.
Okay.
Hopefully earlier, but
Is there any talk of where that will extend to? Because I know you have like Firehouse right across the street. I know that's not going to extend super far, but I didn't know if you guys had heard.
It'll most likely be just all in the park, except I have seen some outrage on Facebook about the tower.
except the tower.
Well, yes,
No
I
beer
would. No,
in the
I would
tower.
not want. No,
Yeah.
no.
I've never been in that tower.
It's kinda cool.
It's terrifying.
You want to run up
It
the
is
steps with me tomorrow?
Terrifying.
Yeah.
So the first and only time, I don't like heights. I am not a heights
Yeah, no, I'm the
person.
same way. I stand
but
back.
I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna, there's a fairly tall, like, I say, I know it's glass, but it's that
Yeah.
super strong whatever, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go up there and I'm just gonna, experience it once, and then that's gonna be it. And I'm like, I'll walk up the stairs. I'm gonna get some extra workout in, do whatever, walk up the stairs. I get to the top, and of course I'm about dead as I get to the top. I can't, I have to stay with my back against the wall
yeah,
of the
the
tower.
inner
I'm just
part.
like, this is, if I'm up high, but I can't see directly below me, like if that glass wall was solid, I probably could have walked up to it and enjoyed the view. But because it's clear and you can see down, I'm like, trying to walk around to get to where the elevator was, which is on like the opposite side of where the stairs come out.
You're like army crawling.
I didn't know if I was going to make it. I'm like, I'm going to be stuck up here for the rest of my life because I'm terrified to move because
He was
this
saying-
thing is
saying
so
Hail
freaking
Mary in
hot.
Spanish.
Oh my, well, French. I took French, so.
Yeah, but it was that scary that you knew the Spanish.
Oh my god. Oh my god. No, I would not want anyone getting near that if they have had beers.
Yeah, no, it's
So
It's a bad idea.
But that is an
Well, the-
interesting
The
question.
traumatic
of
event that
how do you
happened with
know-
the tower probably is why they're like, no beer in
right.
the tower.
Well, but then that does, and I don't want to get into this at all, but it does raise a question of how, they don't have someone checking you before you go up the tower.
no,
So-
yeah,
But
It's
yeah,
just-
that's
your choice.
guys. Be
you know.
be safe. Just that's all I'm gonna say. Once the Dora area around here opens
gonna
up,
be
be safe.
Awesome.
Be good.
Have
fun, but be
Out
safe,
of
that's it.
every Dora area that I've been to,
Mm-hmm.
this area, okay, take away the tower.
Sure.
But we're not in the middle of a downtown.
Correct.
It
You
is
are
a
right.
park.
Right.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Yeah.
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
can't think of a safer area
I would
around
agree.
than what we would have here in
I
Summit
would-
Park. So
I would
I
agree,
was
yeah.
semi-joking about the tower because someone was very angry about it on Facebook. But
there are those assholes that are going to be.
someone will ruin
Someone's
it,
going to
I'm
be
sure.
stupid. Someone's going to be stupid. Yeah. So don't be stupid. Don't be that person. But I'm incredibly excited for the Dora area around here. Because imagine just grabbing a beer, taking a loop around the park, and then going to Senate and getting a freaking hot dog covered in absolutely everything under the sun. It's going to be amazing.
Like a poutine hot dog.
Yes. Yes, not a gravy fry hot dog, but a poutine. They do have poutine at Senate, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
Okay. So for our guests who come here to Higher Gravity Summit Park, you can get your poutine at Senate.
All right, so we have a new beer in our glass. Well, Marco, you do have a new beer in your glass,
I have-
but it's different than what.
Yeah. I
do
have
you have?
Roadhouse Pils.
So good.
Delightful.
So good.
Because I'm predictable.
And Jason or Nick, I'm not sure what the first word is on that can, so I'm gonna throw it to you
It's
guys
in French,
too.
Julia. You can read it.
I don't think that's. I mean, as we all know, pronunciation on this podcast is paramount.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm leaving it to the experts who purchase
We
this
haven't-
fine beer to.
It's not a question of being able to read correctly, but if you held it up to a mirror, you'd be fine. It's just backwards.
Oh my
So
God,
it's-
it is.
Yeah, it's called Das Yummy,
Dude.
Oh.
I didn't even notice that. That's
Ah.
awesome.
and it's a pear ginger snap sour from Ouzelfinch, which is delicious, and all
It's really
their
good.
stuff is just like
Yeah.
insanely
Yeah.
over fruited. You kind of gotta.
But it
throw
doesn't
it in.
explode. It can.
It can.
Maybe.
Everything can
I don't-
explode.
That's
I don't
well-
I don't know.
Well,
I don't think we've ever had an issue with their stuff actually.
yeah.
All right.
I'm just throwing shade at another non-local brewery that
That has
has
mazes.
exploded in
Yeah.
the past. That has mazes and has exploded in the past.
In the past, though, they
In the
fixed
past,
it.
have they? I'm not willing to test it.
Great.
I'm not willing to. I'm not
No,
willing
I don't
to
know.
risk it.
That's what they said. I saw it on their Instagram.
They also said that they fixed the ABV issues, but I'm just. We'll see. We'll see. But no, this is really, really good for a sour. It's not overly tart. It's just like I feel like it's really, really well balanced, and a lot of Ouzelfinch beers have a bazillion adjuncts in it, but
Yeah, they do.
it's just incredibly balanced. They're all good. Like there's no doubt that what they make is very, very well crafted. But I really like this one.
Their stuff is
Right.
always really good. Sometimes it can be a little on the thick side.
A little much, yeah.
For me, I know
yeah.
we were talking about a lot of people like girth, but sometimes
Right.
it can be too much.
You good, Julia?
Good. I'm not going to die this time. So, shout out not to the Cintas guy, who I did not have to run into literally this week because we are here at Higher Gravity.
Tried to take you out last week,
He did.
and not for
He
dinner.
did.
He tried to run over you.
I may forgive, but I will never forget.
Wait,
Yeah.
like a Cintas truck,
Yeah.
try to run you over?
Pretty much.
Nick listens to all the episodes.
Yeah. So last week, as I was pulling into be okay. So I'll be to be honest, and I will. To be fair,
That's
I
what
was
we are.
entering the parking lot in a place where you're not technically supposed to enter, but so many people have run over the concrete barriers that they're just gone. So people go in and out of that part of the parking lot all the time. So I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. Because I typically get gas at the Shell that's in front of BC's before I go there. Well, the Cintas truck decided that he's going to go pull out of the spot that he was in front of BC's, towards where I was coming in to turn around to leave the parking lot. I was mostly in the lot before he was mostly out of his spot, but he still decided, no, I'm bigger than you. This is my place.
Yeah. He had more girth.
He had a lot more girth than what I did. And I thought I was gonna die. And Mark is like, yeah, I watched the whole thing from in here. I thought you were. I didn't think you were gonna make it.
I was sitting
I'm
at the
like,
bar, and I was just like, wow.
Yeah, Mark is lifting up his beer, just like, huh. Shit, look at Joy out there. Boy, that sucks.
No, and
I'm gonna have to go solo today.
she,
I did.
well, she made it.
I did.
All right.
I did. But I may not shout out the Cintas guy for a bit until I post-traumatic stress. I mean, it's gonna shake me for months, maybe. I don't
Months.
know. Days, weeks, who
Months.
knows? Time means nothing anymore. But yeah, this is an excellent beer, and we are on to the last podcast that we have to recap for the evening, which is
The Dayton Brewcast.
the Dayton Brewcast. Yeah. So Nick just didn't have the time to listen, which is fine. I mean, life is hectic and crazy, and that's fine. So the Gnome had been teasing for quite a while, like the entire week leading up to this previous Friday, that there were big changes coming to the Brewcast, and he hoped that we all liked what he was moving into. And Gnome has quit his full-time job, and he has full Gnome now. So Gnome Creative is the company that he has established to do all kinds of content creation and to focus on his podcast and his website, all of that. So all of us are like, okay, cool. He's expanding upon that, doing that. I don't think anyone expected that he would change the name of the podcast.
I thought it was going to become the Hamilton Brewcast.
I think we all did. He threw us off for a loop, and it was the Dayton Brewcast.
I
like
still like
that
greater
season.
Cincinnati.
I do like the
Greater,
greater.
greater.
Yeah. The greater Cincinnati Brewcast. So, hey, I mean, Gnome never asked us for input about, hey, I'm renaming the podcast. Let's get the feedback from my listeners on what they want to do. Although it would be like Potty McPodface if it was left to us, let's be honest. Probably a good idea on his part to leave us out of it. But no, he talked with Trevor Sutherland from Branch and Bone up in Dayton for this episode. And it was really cool. I mean, I've had plenty of Branch and Bone beers. I've bought a lot of them from you guys. I've had Moribund was on tap at BC's last week, and then it was all of a sudden not on tap. So I don't know if they're going to try to put it on slow pour like they're going to do at BC's Liberty or not.
Is that on at BC's Liberty?
Not yet. I looked. They
Oh.
said that once they're done with the current slow pour tap at Liberty, Moribund, their dark check lager is going to go on.
Right.
And Trevor said I told them to call me when it goes on because I want to try that on slow pour. I know I joke with you guys about getting a slow pour tap, but my God, the beer coming out of a slow pour tap, gimmick or not, it works.
Jason
I love
and
it.
Nick, they know that, but what they have is they have a beer engine for cask beers.
Nice.
No.
Nice. We are getting all that inside information right now on this, so if you want to
Lean into cask
elaborate
beers.
on that.
Jason, Nick,
Yeah,
Yep.
next time.
Next week, starting next week.
That'll be on the bonus episode.
It's always next week.
Yeah. But no, so you guys sell a lot of Branch and Bone beer, or at least I've seen a lot of it here.
have you met
It's-
anyone from Branch and
Branch
Bone?
and Bone?
Yeah, we went up there. I guess that was pre-COVID now.
That was for my bachelor party.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that's
wow,
right.
okay.
I was like, I don't know how it was. The 2 years,
So
4 years ago. I don't know.
Technically pre-COVID.
Yeah, that
You're
was
not
pre-COVID.
Wrong.
Yeah,
You're not wrong.
time means nothing anymore. So
It absolutely doesn't.
And that from what I remember it, and
You remember?
no,
Jason, what happened to you that day?
good question.
Lots
so,
of beers.
So we
He had beers.
Did you have your electrolytes or? When you,
He likes to have accidents when he rides his bike. He's like a child.
uh-oh.
So this is getting away from Cincy Brewcast, but yeah,
I know, I wanna
I
hear
heard
it.
that
I
maybe
wanna-
the
I wanna
Ohio
know.
River was involved in one of his biking trips.
This was a different biking accident, but there's been quite a few. So we did and Nick didn't participate on the bike ride.
Absolutely not.
So he
I mean, that's exercise. Why would he?
That's right. Cheers, Nick. Styrofoam cup.
Styrofoam cup cheers, hell yeah.
so he probably actually remembers going to Branch and Bone, but
Yeah.
we had done my bachelor party up in Dayton. I wanted to be cognizant of everybody in my friend group.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't want to ask people to travel, and I didn't want to ask too much of people. So we went up to
Dayton's
Dayton.
not bad, yeah.
Dayton's fun, but it's like super close, and there is a lot to do. So if you
Mm.
haven't explored Dayton, there is a lot of cool stuff to do. A lot of good breweries, a lot of good beer, good
Hiking.
food.
The hiking
The Holiday
up there
Inn
is
has a
amazing.
pool.
And
Oh,
then-
hey, is it on the roof?
Yeah, there you go.
I don't think it's on the roof.
There's not really, but there's not a hotel downtown Dayton.
No,
Not a
there's-
single hotel.
There's literally not a hotel in downtown Dayton.
Is there
what are you going to stay at the Y? I mean, where do people stay?
I mean, we
nice
did an
Airbnb,
At the
Airbnb.
motel?
you know.
Oh,
At the
Airbnb,
Holiday
okay.
Inn?
And obviously, there's hotels that are by Wright State, and there's hotels that are by Dayton University, but not in like
Downtown Dayton. Okay.
Anyways, so we did a bike ride from Dayton to Yellow Springs and
Okay.
then back, and it was Yellow Springs Fest or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah.
that big festival that they do annually there.
So a lot of tie-dye.
I don't know. I don't remember. But we
Tie-dye and weed.
we rode there and drank it at Yellow Springs Fest, and then on the way back, it was raining on us, and I got tired. Like a lot of our group was, kind of just moseying. We had all been drinking all day, and I was like, you know what? I want to get back, and I just start pedaling as fast as I can. I end up getting to this Marathon gas station that's on like some random road on the bike trail, and it's like, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna stop. I get out and I buy 2 24-ounce Coors Lights in those like tin screw
Yeah,
the
screw top.
bottles.
Screw top ones,
And I was
yeah.
like, and I'm going to see if I can finish both of these before the rest of my group gets back.
Oh, wow.
And I did.
Nice.
You look like an overachiever.
So the group catches up to us, and then we start going again.
Why is Jason on the ground?
I don't know. At some point, one of the other people called us and was like, "Hey, because we were going to Warp Wing." They're like, "Hey, where you at? We're like at Warped Wing already, and we're still on the bike trail at this point. And I went to turn around to yell to somebody to ask where we were, and I must have, in that process, I think I hit my front brake and just went over the handlebars. And I'm pretty sure I cracked my hip while we were doing it, but I was hammered, so I didn't really feel it that bad. But then we get there, and I had been talking to Branch and Bone this before we had brought any Branch and Bone beers in.
Was Higher Gravity open at this point?
Higher Gravity was open.
It was open. Okay.
I had been talking to them for a little while, like, hey, I'd love to bring in your beer if you guys ever have enough. If you're ever producing enough that you can send it down, I'd love to have it. And so I'm pretty sure it was Trevor. Trevor invited us. He was like, hey, if you're going to be up here for your bachelor party, come in. I'll give you a brewery tour. It's not a big place, but he was like, I'll take you back into the brewing system. We can talk about it. And we got there, and I was just wasted.
You're like, you give a tour to everyone else. I'm just going to sit here at one of these tables.
But I remember
I
him
think I broke my hip.
And and so I don't know, Nick. What you think about the space?
Yeah, I love their beer.
Their beer is awesome.
Yeah, the space is like, I mean, it's not the biggest place in the world.
Yeah, they were saying
but
that it's fairly
it's like
small,
it's probably like, honestly, like one of the smaller breweries, and it probably could be like, I mean, it's Dayton. I don't really know it that well.
So
but,
comparatively speaking,
like if it was here,
yeah,
it would be one of the most popular breweries in the city. Like that, just in my opinion, like just with what they produce.
Now, size-wise, I know that they talked in this episode of Cincy Brewcast. They are where's my note? They're a 7-barrel brewery.
Yeah.
Which is a mix of 7 and 14-barrel tanks. Would you say that that's the size of the brewery is more like narrow path Fibonacci kind of size? Like what local brewery would you say?
I brewed at Fibonacci. Fibonacci is like half, maybe.
Aren't they like a 1-barrel system?
Yeah, yeah. I think they're 2-barrel.
2-barrel?
But I was just saying, as far as like if you go to visit the brewery, this like
Oh
space-wise, if you're going up
about
there, what would
that.
you
Maybe
say?
a little bit bigger than inside of Fibonacci, but they actually have the huge courtyard, which I don't know if they like turn the parking lot into a courtyard with COVID and stuff, but
right, okay.
Like everyone
I'm pretty sure the original 50 West space. The restaurant, not
right across
not
Riverside
I'm pretty
across
sure
the
that's
street.
a
Yeah.
7-barrel.
The speakeasy across the street?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that's a 7-barrel brew house, so that'll give you an idea of what's
the
there.
size of it.
They have
Okay.
more tank space there. I'm
I
pretty sure.
I brew on a 5-barrel over at Cellar Dweller. So for them, what did they say they did? Was it 700 barrels? That is kicking ass on that kind of system.
Compared to,
I mean,
nice.
we did in, I don't remember, it was 2018, 2019, we did 600 barrels. Now, of course, we as brewers are part-time. We weren't full-time, so we were doing this like 2 days a week. We cranked out 600 barrels doing 2 days a week. 700 barrels on a 7-barrel brew house, working 5 days a week. You are kicking ass. That's just a lot. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of beer. It's a lot of turning tanks. It's a lot of navigating. It's like one domino leads to the next domino to the next one. I mean, it's just it's that you are humping at that pace.
Right. Well, and it's a lot. And what part of the conversation between Noam and Trevor is they were packaging their beer pre-COVID. Like they were already getting stuff in cans, and I'm assuming growlers, that type of thing. So when COVID hit, they already had the packaging segment of their business figured out. They just had to kind of pivot to have it on a different scale than what they had been used to. And
they were using contract canning as well. So, I mean, the margin on packaged beer is awful for a brewery. The margin on packaged beer,
but if it's the only way to sell your beer, they said
terrible.
Trevor did say that because they already had that model in place, they did not lose any beer whatsoever.
Yeah,
like everything that they already had made had ready to go.
True, but from a margin standpoint, it's not.
But would you rather make
it's turning
one
dollars,
penny
and if you're going to
versus
turn
no
the same,
pennies?
if you're going to turn those dollars over and over and over
Right,
and over
right.
again, at least it gets you to a point where hopefully you see the light at the end of the tunnel and you're able to start selling that draft beer and selling that draft beer out of your own place. I mean, a brewery selling a keg of draft beer for, I don't know, I mean,
Just make up a number, yeah.
100, do they self-distribute or are they with a distributor?
They're self.
Okay.
So when you pay $200 for a half barrel, which by the way, I don't know if they brew, if they're half barrels, if they're quarter barrels, if they're plastic recyclable, if they're, the typical other kegs. But anyways, my point is that if you think you're gonna, on a 7-barrel brew house, rake in cash, number one, with a brewery, you're wrong. Number two, by slinging a couple of kegs here and there, you're not, because you're only getting like $200 a keg.
Sure. Which kind of ties into something that they touched on near the end of the episode, which Noam always asks whenever he goes places, what is your measure of success? What do you consider to be you are successful? When will you consider yourself successful? And Trevor pretty much said that his measure of success, or all the other owners of Branch and Bone's measure of success, is continuing to be happy about the products that they're making and what they're doing every day. So whatever they're making, whatever they're doing, as long as they're still, and I know that being happy with what you're doing doesn't pay the bills, but if they still have the clientele that is good with what they're doing and buying enough of the product that they're making, and they're so happy, like they're not making a super over adjuncted stout just because it sells and they're not happy making it, but well, it sells, so we have to make it. To them, that wouldn't be, at least what I took from that wouldn't be success to them. But yeah, go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say, what I took from that is they're getting ready to crank out some seltzers.
Oh, God, yeah. Isn't everyone? Isn't everyone?
Yeah. If you listen to the episode, you were leaning, you're like, here it comes.
It's kind of, yeah.
It's
he did.
coming.
It was leaning a little bit of that. We're doing something a little different that a lot of other breweries are starting to go into.
Well, that's every brewer's at Marco, right? That's the most fun thing you could make ever.
Absolutely. I tell you what. I mean,
The
take
flavor-
Cheapest with the best margin. That's why they
Well,
make
I mean,
it. Takes 7 days to turn it.
The flavors
Instead
you
of
can
30
put
days.
in are limitless.
And that's for the breweries that have to actually brew it. I mean, for those that just mix like GNS in a bright tank with some with some flavorings, and then can it in a slim can.
No one does that.
Right.
No one does that.
Right.
It's
Not around here.
No,
definitely not. No.
I mean, it's like it's one of my pet peeves is like what people charge for seltzers. I'm like, that's like pennies to make that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
But that's what people are looking
No,
for.
I know. It's the market dictates. So it's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
People buy it.
Well, but the
I
thing is,
will-
go ahead, Julie. I
I
don't
was
want
just
to cut
say,
you
well,
off.
I will say for the, because I'll try anything. If someone's like, hey, I have a seltzer that's this, I'll try it. Doesn't mean I'm going to buy it again. Doesn't mean anything. But it's one of those, sure, I'll try it.
I have a hard fast
I
rule.
will-
I am never going to say I'll try anything. It's like, here's some Coke. No, I'm not going to
No,
try
well,
that, buddy.
Okay. Now I'm going to put a qualifier on
There you
this. I'm
go.
going to put a qualifier on this. I will not try anything, but when it comes to, okay, so that still even limits it. But I was going to say like to beer and
Keep
alcoholic
vetting it out.
beverages.
Just keep going with it.
Hashtag put the Coke back in Coke. Whatever. So shout out to the Weekly Pint Gnomes, the Gnarly Gnomes live show that he does every Monday night on Facebook and Twitter and Twitch and everywhere else, Mondays around 9 o'clock.
Nick's always on there.
Nick's always on there, yeah. He often chimes in. But no, I mean, if someone wants to do something that might be a little bit different, I'll give it a shot, even if I know that it's not necessarily what I want to continue drinking. Long drink is a really good example. Shift Beers talked a lot about long drink, which is a finished drink that's like hard seltzer with the grapefruit in it.
Finished from Finland, not
Yeah,
for the
not-
listeners, not for
yes.
you intelligent folks here at the table.
It's really fucking good. But then you have stuff like other seltzers that are.
But did you didn't think that about Bevy though, did you?
No, Bevy is Sam Adams Boston Beer Company's version of the long drink. It's not very good. It's just not. It's
Not long enough, not girthy enough.
Exactly. Get a little more girth to it. Add a little more, oomph to what it is, and maybe.
They know.
But no. But I mean, hey, yeah. If Branch and Bone wants to get into the seltzer market,
Pays the bills.
It pays the bills.
Pays the bills. It's the
And
most important
if
part.
they still have the passion
Otherwise, they can't
for
make anything
doing
else.
it.
So.
Exactly.
I ain't gonna hate the player,
So did
just the game.
so Marco? This is more something that a question that I think more you could answer, or you might have more of an opinion on.
Why does it have to do with
Did
furniture?
no,
Oh,
no, not at all.
okay. Go ahead then.
Marco, we need to talk after this, by the way.
I'm referencing one of his 37 different jobs here. Did Trevor give you kind of a Danny from Sonder vibe? And just kind of sort of his speech patterns and in some of the things that he would say, like early is a matter of perception as far as when it comes to drinking. Like, hey, no, it's after 12 o'clock noon, we're drinking now. It's like, well, early's a matter of perspective. I feel like he had some
There was a
Danny-isms to him
Yes,
that I really
and-
enjoyed.
and-
I really enjoyed listening to.
there was definitely a clear way and a cadence of the way that he spoke that I thought really exude a lot of confidence in
Oh,
the
yeah.
person that he is, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times you get somebody who you talk to in an interview setting, or somebody who gets behind a mic, or somebody who gets in front of an audience and they cease to be themselves. I really felt like he was being himself
Oh, yeah.
when he was on the show, which was great. I certainly appreciate that. That's an amazing feat, doing 700 barrels on a 7-barrel system.
And that's how we tie this all together.
No, but
But yeah, no, you're right,
But
you're
what's
right.
next, right? Because
Seltzers.
at some point, I
That's
know
Nick already said.
I know, but from a capacity standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
your 7-barrel brew house is only going to get you so far.
True.
Yeah.
So
True.
I mean, what's next? What's in store for him?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
I don't remember. I'm just trying to envision the space. It's been a while since we've been up there, but I feel like they can throw some more out back. They definitely have the room to expand, if I remember correctly.
But I don't know. This is always a question, right? Like, do you have to expand?
Like narrow path.
If-
They
I
have
mean-
no intention of getting bigger.
Yeah,
than
I
they
mean,
are.
it's all
So
about what
maybe
you want out of
Branch and
life, I
Bone
guess. I don't
is
know.
Good, yeah.
That's
Right. And I have never talked about this with Trevor. I don't know any of the other owners. I don't know if there are other owners. If you're doing 90% of your business in your tap room, making 80% margin, even though that may be a small revenue figure, that's still a good profit.
Oh, no, yeah.
And so the
Yes.
question is, are you comfortable with that profit? And do you really want the growing pains of going through distribution and expanding your brewery to get what Marco said is excessively minimal
Right.
margin?
Yes.
Right.
So not everyone wants to do that just to grow their top line.
Because
Right.
what it inevitably does is you end up having to do an enormous amount of production just to cover the cost of the production itself with very minimal, percentage of profit.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially this is a really heavily shrinking marketplace. Like, everyone is fighting for shelf space. People have always been fighting for shelf space. We see it.
It's crazy.
The amount of beers that are out and available, and some of these beers are things that people used to go hunt for and wait in line for.
now
Those
commonplace
those are
almost.
just there, and they're
Well,
like,
Zombie Dust, I think, is an excellent example of that, to where that used to be one of those, when it hit Cincinnati, like the few times it did, I mean, you couldn't find it because people were lined up outside of shops to get it as soon as it came off the truck. And now it's collecting dust because
it's collecting
they decided
dust
to
at
make
Kroger
it.
going out of date. But on the same hand, I mean, you guys can talk to this. I mean,
Yeah.
we put it on tap for a soft opening here at Summit Park, and I mean, people love buying it on draft.
Oh, yeah.
They love buying it on draft.
It's a name everyone knows. It's comfortable and familiar. They know they like it, type of deal.
Yeah, but they don't pick it up and take it at home, from a grocery store.
This whole conversation back into Branch and Bone, have you guys noticed, and this may be kind of a loaded question just because of the different styles that you have, all that, but have you noticed if you sell more of Branch and Bone's beers on draft versus in cans or packaged, or is it just one of those?
I mean, their drafts usually fly, at least in Northside, because people kind of come in and they kind of know who that is.
I know if I see their name on, it's kind of like, I definitely want
you
one
gotta
of those.
try that. And
I just didn't know if you're like, draft, the kegs are empty in no time, where the cans will still sit on the shelf for longer than we thought, or
Well, I
if
think
it's,
there's
again, if that's
there's
just kind
probably
of too difficult of a... too many variants to that question to really be able to
Yeah,
answer.
Depending on what they're putting in package too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe
True,
your
yes.
sours kind of stick around a little bit longer, or maybe they don't. I don't know.
Right.
Jason, you were going to speak, so.
That's a really difficult thing to answer, especially in Northside, right? We only have 12 beers on draft.
Right.
And people gravitate naturally to draft for, one of the things that we just talked about is one of those reasons why people will gravitate towards draft is that misnomer of thinking draft tastes better. But when someone comes in and asks for a beer, it's very easy for a bartender to be like, oh, well, you're looking for that style. How about number 4? Instead of saying, oh, well, I have 12 different cans.
Different cans of this. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
We have a very big, in Northside, we have right now 458 cans and bottles, and we have 12 drafts. So those drafts are going to inherently just move faster.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's also a lot easier for us as owners to manipulate what gets on that draft board versus what is going to move in cans and
shelves.
bottles.
Makes sense. Speaking
so
of
it's
cans, we
hard.
do have, since we're getting kind of near the end of the Cincy Brewcast recap, which has been more of a just overarching branch and bone package versus draft recap than Cincy Brewcast. It's a great episode. You should definitely check it out. Branch and Bone makes phenomenal beers and seltzers eventually. As Nick kind of a
Boom.
hell of a crispy crack there. I apologize that I was talking over that one.
Crispy crack cider.
I wanted to make sure that we got this last one on the mics before we wrapped up stuff, but this one is not a beer. And so, Marco, you can definitely have one of these. Mark is like, give me the rest of that can because I haven't had to try a lot
Pretty
of the
good.
other ones. Just be sure to save a little
Tastes
bit
like
of that
apple juice.
cheer.
Yeah,
Does
so
it
make
though?
sure. So at the end of the show, you cannot have an empty glass for a cheers. I'm just telling you.
Oh, all right.
Just saying.
I'm gonna
It
use
doesn't
my
matter
plastic
what's
cup
in
now.
your glass.
Yeah. I don't know if you know anywhere where you could get more beer, but I mean,
If
when we get to
only there
the
was
end,
somewhere you
when
could
we get to
something
the end, there
else to
better
drink.
be a beverage in your glass.
So what is the last thing that you have graciously provided to us to try out today?
Yeah, continuing with our cinnamon theme here, we have a beer called not beer.
Yeah.
Cider.
The not beer.
Chai Mia River from Newtopia Cider. It's 5.8%. It is a hard cider, dry spiced with cinnamon, chamomile, and chrysanthemum, which is really hard to say. And it says serving
Big
temperature.
words.
Yeah, no, right? Serving temperature between 40 and 50 degrees, which this
I
beer
think we're right on there. Holy mafuck.
is. It,
Holy
Is that-
motherfuck, this is bussin'.
Yeah.
Is that good?
This is
That's
really,
good.
really good.
Oh yeah, it's
Some
from a
ciders
cider
are
perspective. It's
some ciders are just too dry for me, but this is excellent. Oh, I like how they spelled cider CYDER instead of CIDER.
I noticed that, and I was confused if we were.
Huh. I wonder if there's a reason behind that, or if that's just kind of their brand.
I didn't know if we were in Canada or America anymore. But
Well, it's still listed in ounces, and well, no, it does actually have 473 milliliters. Hey, Newbert Report, let us know:
I'm from America.
Newtopia cider something you can get up in Canada? Where is this place? San Diego. So it's definitely U.S., but this is really freaking good. Everything
it
that
is
you
very good.
have, everything that I've ever had or bought from Higher Gravity has always been amazing. These beers have been no different. So thank you very, very much for
Well, they are, professionals
sharing this.
at
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
So.
you guys try to taste just about everything that you sell as much as
on
you
draft.
can anyway.
Not
on
about the
draft?
cans. It's
Okay,
just too hard.
too much. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I used to try.
Yeah. But then you weren't able to
Got
drive
married?
home for
You broke your hip, and you're like,
It's-
you know what? I should. Maybe
Allie,
not.
you're wonderful. We love you.
You know what? When we started this 5 years ago, right? There were still a lot of breweries out there, but now I
It's
don't know.
just-
There's probably 5 times the amount of different beers that are available now.
So you might have used to be able to try to
I used to be
taste
able to.
what came in the door.
We're still bringing in just as many because we only have so
So
much
much,
shelf
sure,
space,
sure.
right? So we still bring in the same amount of beers every week, but we have an exponential amount more beers that distributors are trying to get us to try.
Yeah, so I'd love to talk about that if we can kind of transition from Cincy Brewcast to maybe talking to these guys a little bit more about the business and picking their brain about
Absolutely.
The business and some of the beer and beer trends and all this other stuff. So a lot of beers from outside of the local market are available now. Whether it be
real fast before you do that, do we want to end the
We gotta tie it
Cincy
together.
Brewcast? Just to tie it together, because I can always make this a bonus episode. I can cut
let's
this
go.
out, but I want to make sure. Is there anything else?
And we
that,
can do restroom runs and stuff.
Yes. Is there anything else that we wanted to mention about this episode of Cincy Brewcast or the Dayton Brewcast
Well,
as it was presented?
Just want to tell everyone settle down. It was just the April Fool's joke.
It was.
Cincy Brewcast is still Cincy Brewcast.
It was.
And
support
Nick knew
the
that.
gnome.
Nick knew that.
He knew it.
Did you see Delwood is closing too?
What?
That was an April Fool's joke.
Well-
there you go.
I really hate April Fools. I'm
I
just
do
throwing it out
too.
there.
I do too. I actually
It's like
tried
my
to stay
least favorite
off
day of the
internet.
year.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the corniest, dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life.
I try to
Stop.
stay.
Nick's drinking now.
Our-
So much.
Well, he said I had to have a full
Oh, we
glass.
did
yeah,
it.
we just said you had
It's
to have a
only
glass.
because
We just said you
Marco
had to
said
have
I had to.
We
thank
just
you.
said you had to have something in your glass. There's ice water there that would have
That's
worked.
fine.
We do not
Well-
want to.
No, it's all good.
No, it's
He's
fine. I need a
I'll
carbo load
drink
for
it for you.
tomorrow.
That's my excuse every night. Like, Josh is like, oh, you're drinking. Aren't you going to work out at 4 a.m? It's like carb loading. Got it. It's cool. It's cool, man.
Well, you're drinking apples now. So.
Now I'm drinking. It's healthy. This is fruit juice. It's very healthy for you.
Yep.
But no, this episode of Cincy Brewcast was really cool because there are a lot of really amazing breweries up in Dayton. Branch and Bone is one of the best. I want to get up there to not only go to Branch and Bone, but to go to Toxic. That's another Dayton brewery that I've had a few
I've not
beers-
had anything from them. Is it?
So I had a couple beers from them. Josh and I did when they were at the Beer Barons Beerfest that they do at Spring Grove. They had a growler kind of stashed behind their jockey box that had a poblano pepper beer that they're like, yeah, we're just offering this if people seem to kind of be into beer.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. They don't distribute, so that's been the only beer that, and I don't even remember what they had in the jockey box from them, but it's like, this was so good. I want to go up there, go to, what's that area that they're in? Not the is it the Oxford District? Something? District up in,
Orange District?
no, there's an area up in downtown Dayton
Yeah,
that
it's
has
where
a couple,
Warp Wing
couple,
is. And
yeah,
we've been there.
Yeah,
many
you know,
times.
yeah, there's like a bar brewery, whatever,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
district in downtown.
Okay,
Dayton,
all right, yeah.
that
Yeah.
I definitely want to go up to and visit. So
I may have been in this tap room for all I know. I have
and,
no idea.
right, and you just don't remember. All good. But it was a really cool interview. I really liked listening to what Trevor had to say, the way he presented Branch and Bone, the way that he talked about the beer, the brewery, what they want to do, what they're trying to grow into, how they're successful, what they do for their measure of success. It was awesome. It was a really good episode, and everyone should listen to it. Support the Gnarly Gnome with all of his endeavors. TheGnarlyGnome.com has his podcast, his blog, gnarlygnome.com/support for any support you want to give him. And definitely check him out. But I just wanted to make sure that we wrap this up, or this segment up, in a tidy little bow before we got into talking to you guys more about higher gravity, the business, all that kind of stuff, because I definitely think that deserves its own conversation.
For sure.
Nick was onto something with Orange. Mm-hmm. It's Oregon.
Oh, yeah. I was like,
Oregon
I knew
District.
someone would know.
The Oregon District.
I don't
Yes.
know why I thought Oregon.
Yes.
There it is.
Yes. I'm like, I know as soon as I hear it.
I used to
I'm
go up there in
gonna know it.
college all the time.
Nice. Excellent.
Now you remember.
So, Mark, I do apologize for interrupting you. I just wanted to make sure that.
No.
That, yeah, but
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You keep us on track, Julia. Love it.
I do what I can. But yeah,
Well-
if you guys still have some time, we would love to dig into more about just the.
Higher gravity,
higher
the
gravity,
business,
the-
and
yeah,
some of the
sure.
way that you approach some of this stuff.
All right. Well, we're going to probably do a bonus with Nick and Jason because there was a lot more to talk about when it comes to higher gravity and beer and everything else. But this kind of wraps up what we had for the main Truth, Beer, and Consequences episode.
So, Julia, tell all the listeners, and by the way, thank you for those of you who are new to the show. Truly appreciate the listen. And for those of you who've been with us a long time, I truly appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Tell all your friends about the show. Get everyone to, your friends, your coworkers. If you don't have friends, go make friends and tell them about the show.
Steal
Julia,
their phones and subscribe on their phones for them.
Correct.
Because they don't know that they need us.
Just take it. And I heard that, what is it, with iPhones, you can just say something like, Siri, what's my name, or something like that. And it'll,
Siri, subscribe to Truth, Beer, and Consequences.
Right. And
see if it works. You never know.
Julia, tell the people how they can find us and support us.
They can find us on all of your favorite social media platforms at Truth Beer Pod. You can email us, truthbeerpod@gmail.com. If you have a complaint about our show, send that via Twitter to @RagingHop. He will go through all the complaints that you have, and he'll let us know about them. If you would like to monetarily support our show so we can buy more beers, maybe upgrade our equipment, maybe some of those cool lapel mics so we can do live travel shows from Beerfest like they do in Shift Beers.
Right.
Go to truthbeerpod.com and click on the big blue support us link. We would really appreciate it.
Thank you to our guests today.
Nick and Jason, thank you so much for listening and not listening to the shows, because we had a great time talking about them regardless.
Great time. And Julia, what you doing next week?
Next week, I think I'm going to be talking. Well, no, first I'm going to be listening to podcasts, and then I'm going to be talking about them with you and anyone else that happens to show up.
Sounds great. Cheers,
everyone.
everyone.